Stanley Drucker is a remarkable artist, also an extraordinary human being. He's brought his sense of music to 60 years of music making. He stands alone in the world of clarinetists. His contribution to the orchestra, to its fame, is immeasurable.
I think the thing that I'll miss about Stanley the most is his unbelievable creativity, his ability to make a moment anytime he has the opportunity.
One of the great personalities of any instrument ever. And the fact that he's like Dorian Gray, he looks the same as he did when I joined the orchestra.
I think it's highly improbable that I would have heard about this wunderkind, young, New York, flashy clarinetist named Stanley Drucker when I was 4 years old and living in Denton, Texas. 20 years later, I was joining Stanley Drucker's orchestra.
I remember my father coming back from America after, studying with Galamian, always talking about the different musicians of the New York Philharmonic. Oh, talk to me about Stanley Drucker. So I knew his name in Bombay already. Well, look, he's a great, great instrumentalist, a fabulous musician. He's been every conductor's favorite.
To look in the eyes so full of enthusiasm, he gave me the energy. So I want to thank him for all these beautiful years of music making, and he can still give the young players joy, enthusiasm, and knowledge.
There was never any evening where you could say he seemed tired. The sensibility of his music making, the reaction for the conductor was really breathtaking.
When Stanley plays a note, it's like the first note that's ever been played in the universe. So he is so inspiring to watch and has always inspired me.
I think it took a few weeks before I learned your name because everyone at that time called you Junior. And you remained Junior for a hell of a long time. The next shock that came to me apart from learning your name, when I learned that you were retiring, I think I was going to try to put a stop to it. Because after all, you're one of the few people around who is still a stylist and who knows what style means. One can feed you a phrase by Berlioz or Bach or Vivaldi, and by the time it comes out, it's something that was written by Drucker.
And what is amazing is hearing him play the same pieces on a tour, and every time he played it, there would be a certain inflection or phrasing that made you sit up and listen. And this is the mark of a true artist.
In 1969, I came, and we were playing the Parks concert. Ephraim Kurtz was conducting you at the Copland Clarinet Concerto. I mean, what else? And every time you've played it since, of course, it sounds better and better to me. I don't know what's wrong, but just keeps sounding better. I mean, what are you doing?
But I remember a concert, a rehearsal, where Lenny said, Stanley, could you play that glissando, make it a little longer? Well, I think that glissando was still going on.
Greetings from the flute section, Stanley. Well, we sit in front of you all the time, and we hear you all the time, and we feel like you haunt us in our dreams.
What are some of your memories of these last?
Well, when I first joined the orchestra, you sat down with me alone and said, the secret of orchestra playing is energy.
I remember, Stanley, that you always said that to be spontaneous.
Well, I was amazed at the fact that you have all your hair still.
Stanley, I can remember the conversations I had with my dad when he sat next to you on the Long Island Railroad going home, talking about the Philharmonic. I often listened to you concert after concert. You're always looking for a new expression. And that's been an absolute encouragement to me and an example to me.
But also he was also a leader in the woodwind section, certainly. There were personalities, very strong personalities like Harold Gomberger, like Julie Baker. Stanley was extremely lively, so that was for me his characteristics. And they become icons You know, they become monuments, let's say. Stanley Drucker has become in New York a New York monument, but also a national monument.
He's really one of the few orchestral musicians who single-handedly can change the course of a concert for the better. He can, with the turn of a phrase, turn what was perfectly adequate and very fine into something magical. And that's I think, his unique gift.
And who else but Stanley, who is the tradition itself? He's like a personification of this tradition. We have to learn so much from him, and we did.
Back in the early 60s, when I was just a drop in an ocean of spitball throwing 10-year-olds, and there you were, Stanley Drucker, the greatest, the legendary, the principal clarinet of my hometown orchestra, the New York Philharmonic.
Stanley is a very professional guy, comes in, he plays, he likes to be in a certain position, and I usually put him there, but he's not, throughout the years, I had hardly any problems with Stanley.
And then one day, Jessie Norman canceled. She was supposed to be our soloist. She calls up at 6 o'clock, I'm sick, I can't make it. We call Stanley, come and play, Mozart concerto, no problem.
Zubin wants to know if you'll do the Mozart tonight. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all right, no problem. I said, well, I'm going to run up to the library, I'll get the music. And Stanley says to me, the music for what? I said, for the clarinet concerto, for the Mozart, I'll get it down for you. He said, what do I need music for? He said, I haven't used music for that since I was 17.
I talked to him the next day, and I said, wow, you know, that was really just coming through in a pinch. It was amazing. No preparation or anything. And he said, you know, I couldn't tell him, but actually I didn't have the right clarinet there. I had to use Mitch's because I didn't have the right clarinet. So I wasn't playing on my clarinet. And I think that just sort of sums up Stanley. You know, nothing is a problem. Nothing.
I remember my teacher told me as a kid, he says, you know, kid, he said, you're going to see people that play the Beethoven Fifth Symphony 200 times. And he said, you're going to see some people that play it, you know, they're 18 going on 75. And he said, you're going to see other people that are playing it and they're 75 going on 18. See which one you're going to be. And for me, that's the ultimate thing with Stanley, is he plays every piece like he was playing it still for the first time. And that's a great, great gift that he's given all of us.